Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Happy Developer podcast. In this episode, I'm talking to Marius Čižiūnas, who is a software engineer, team leader, and a certified coach. Marius holds two master's degrees, one in computer engineering and the other in applied positive psychology and coaching psychology. After a successful software engineering career in the United Kingdom, Marius moved back to Lithuania, where he founded a nonprofit organization that educates teenagers about leadership, empowerment, and active lifestyle. In our conversation, we touched upon very interesting topics ranging from software engineering and job search to public speaking and personal development. I really enjoyed my conversation with Marius, and I hope that you will enjoy it too. Have fun. So, how did you get into development?
That's actually the interesting story. Probably I have to cut the story short, at least a little bit. I'm not one of those people who start coding at school, or in the teenage years. I haven't thought about that. I think I was quite good at maths at school. We had like intro programming classes as well, which I did quite good. At that time, it was something around 2006-ish, 6 or 7, like in my hometown, Ukmergė. Like it was in the entire town. I think it was something like 6 or 5 people who were taking the national exam of informatics. That's how it was called, but it's basically like the basics of programming. So they took us for like a van to another town to have like an entire region there. So the IT was not a thing at all. But yeah, I thought like computers, it's future, although I was not really planning to do much with it. So I got into the university, Vilnius University, but my plans were still different. I had a friend who was like doing some business and investments, and I was thinking that I'm going to do the same because he was like working abroad a little bit and just coming back and just investing his money. I thought that's my path. But at the same time, I did work in, I don't know, in so many different unskilled jobs, security guy, like a painter, car washer, polisher, and like a cashier, and then etc. etc.
That's before university or during university?
Yeah, before and during both.
Interesting.
And there was one turning point because like in the university, I did quite well. I was not really studying that much, but I was able to pass everything. And I still worked like in different jobs. So at that time, it was summer and I finished the 3 courses in the university. And I worked in the beer factory. So as like this, how would you say, extra, I don't know, like some assistance like of something. Like for example, I was on the bottles, you sometimes get not those lids where you just like, not like on the beer bottles, but sometimes they are more fancy. So I was like manually collecting them, assembling them together. And it was tough, not physically but mentally, because I was considering myself quite smart, but I was still working in that factory, and like it was a very much Polish area here in Lithuania, so no one even spoke with me because I was not like speaking in Polish and they were not speaking in Lithuanian, but I wasn't interested that much in that as well. So there was one day where we were thinking with friends to go to like Palanga, like the seaside, like just to have some parties there. So I was planning just to get away from work and have like a break, and just, you know, it's easier to come back after that. And this plan didn't work well. I can't remember the reasons, but there was this day, I remember it as it was like yesterday, sunny summer day, and I was going from my bus stop to my home. I knew that we're not going to have the holiday, I didn't even took the second bus. I just decided to walk. That was quite a bit of a walk. And I was thinking that's like, how come I'm considering myself that smart, but I'm still like the assembling lids for like beer bottles. Um, and then I thought that, but I'm studying like the, computers, and I'm not the best, but I'm quite good there. And I know so many keywords about programming. I thought I just need to start doing something. So I came back home. I spent like, I don't know, like 15 hours, like nonstop building my CV through that
Okay,
night.
let's stop here, Marius. So what I'm interested in is like, how did you get into informatics in the first place? So you're in a small town, only 5-6 people are thinking of taking the exam or taking the exam. And also I read somewhere that you even didn't plan to study informatics. You even didn't like programming much at school, but still you decided to study informatics. So is it like, okay, so this is a future, our future, I should do it? Or what was the reason why to get into that program in the first place?
Um, like there was this 2007 was the year when I got into university, and that time here in Lithuania it was like best times for like construction sector. Like all or most of my friends were studying constructions, and like I'm from the village originally, and like we all understand what constructions is, but we don't know what computers are. um, I had influence from like my aunt, like from my very teenage, like from not even teenage, from my child years. Um, they had computers when computer was not even a
Ah.
thing. In Lithuania, in our village, I was the first one who had computer. Like when we got the first computer at school in our
What
village
type of
school.
computer it was?
Do you remember it was 386?
Mm.
Like the motherboard and processor. Um, so no one even knew how to use that computer. So I was the only one who
So
knew how
what did
to
you do with that?
utilize it.
What did you do with that when you got your hands on it?
Uh, well, gaming,
Okay. Oh,
obviously, like early stages of gaming. We
mm.
had those floppy disks.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was recording CDs. I was
Mm.
earning some money for that. Um, yeah, I was like interested. I was like assembling and disassembling it, like
Mm.
for whatever reason. So I was like, when the time came to kind of choose what to study, my teacher, he was really good. He was very supportive. So he was saying that like, you're really good. You're really good. You should try that. He just showed me a few courses or universities who are doing like what. Um, so yeah, I was not really thinking about constructions, because like in my opinion, like I saw there's two paths mainly. Uh, so I
Sorry,
declined just thinking about construction.
when you say
And
construction, it's like you construction to me, it's like gives an image of building stuff like
yeah, could be, yeah, like the
yeah,
whole
but
engineering, right? Like
yeah,
the
because construction is
construction.
like building buildings, but when you say construction, you mean like constructing hardware, something like that.
No. Like the
Actual construction.
2007 was like a best year for like the whole construction sector, right?
Yeah,
Like
okay, I
the
got it.
real estate prices and
Yeah.
like the building prices. I was working in the construction, and that's
Mm.
actually that's I was working, I was earning so much money. So that's I was like even considering that's maybe like it's better just to stay there, and like I don't need to study. Um,
Mm.
but yeah,
From what you're saying, it seems that although yourself you didn't think about going into informatics per se, although you had some people around you that somewhat influenced you, your aunt, your teacher, and they saw something in you, that you're smart, that you're good at it, although you in yourself didn't think that it might be a good career path, you didn't consider going into construction. So it's interesting. So when you were working in that beer factory, so was there like an epiphany that, okay, so I'm doing something bad with my life, or how that realization came to you, because it seems that you were doing fine up to that point.
Um, well, I was, yeah, I think I was thinking that I'm wasting my life, basically, because that was also the time I used to party a lot, a lot, massively.
I mean, you worked in a beer factory, so it kind of makes sense.
I haven't tried that beer though at that
Oh.
time, but it's quite good now. But yeah, I mean, I was like thinking from the perspective of I need to earn money, right? I need just to get my life stable financially, and thinking about the careers I had before, none of them was very like, yeah, futuristic. So like, yeah, and computers, yeah, so those people like really did influence me, and my parents as well. They bought me a computer, even they didn't know what it is at the time, but they thought that I should have it. So yeah, that probably got something, at least unconsciously, that computers are good and I have a skill compared to constructions where like, yeah, I was never there. I did not even understood what it is.
Okay. So let's go a bit into the future. So there's no need like to go like linearly out in our conversation. So what I'm interested in is about that career of a software developer. And from what you're saying, it seems that you didn't even consider it, at least in the beginning, or even it wasn't a thing. There was like informatics, so I'm sure that it was much broader at that time, not only programming. It was also a bit limited compared to today in terms of languages we have and things we can do with computers. And it's interesting because you seem like a entrepreneurial guy to me. You're someone who likes to party. You like to spend time with people. It seems that you're, I mean, doing well socially. You have you partner. You are like not married but engaged, right? So it seems like you're a very social guy, and to me it makes sense that you didn't think about programming like in the beginning. And but let's talk about that Google journey. I think that people might be interested in that, because you're a guy who is known not for getting into Google. It sounds weird, but there was a big thing about you going there and joining that company. And I mean, I talked to some people who are Googlers, and they are super geeky and they are super into software engineering. But they're also like, maybe they have somewhat good people skills, but not necessarily. At least the most dominant part is their like geeky part and interest in solving difficult problems, right? And you, on the other hand, you seem like someone who likes to solve business problems, who like to deal with people, but still you decided that, okay, I want to join Google. And to me, it sounds like similar to what you were saying before. Okay, I'm not seeing myself as a developer, but others see me, so maybe I should get into there. And with Google, the same. Oh, maybe I wouldn't like to work in Google, but hey, Google is the greatest company, so I must work there. So there's like a interesting gap between what you want to do and what people expect you to do. And I think that this is a problem that people sometimes get into, especially maybe software engineers. They maybe are forced to go into software development because parents see them spending time next to their computer all the time, and they think also he or she must do something with computers. They have to go into programming, and they start unconsciously putting those motivations to do that. So I know, how do you see that? I mean, if you could consciously choose what you would do now, let's say you are you finish school, but you have all that wisdom, would you choose programming? What do you think? Be honest with me, dude.
Well, I just did. So I just graduated my master's and I'm still in IT.
Oh, great. That's a different story. We'll talk about that as well.
But yeah, I just did. I think there are a few interesting points you mentioned here. So one was a Google journey.
Yeah.
Another thing was the expectations of others. So they're very much related here. But in terms of Google, I challenge myself. That's what I like doing. So that was the biggest kind of goal which I could think about at the time.
Your idea was that Google would identify you. You would not apply directly, but you wanted that Google would apply to you in a way.
Yeah.
So tell me about it. But also please focus on that. Why Google? Because, we already discussed that at first you didn't see yourself as a software engineer, but you wanted to work in the most sexiest software engineering company, at least at the time, maybe.
It is, yeah, as I mentioned before, that was kind of the biggest goal I could kind of challenge myself into doing. Because, yeah, like it's also comes to that, to the expectations of others. Because like I was competing to some people around me. Also wanted to prove something probably to my parents, consciously or unconsciously as well. Yeah, so that's why I thought, and also like the one more thing was that I used to party a lot, and the time comes when you have to stop. So, because when you reach the bottom, the very much rock bottom.
What was the bottom in your case, if you don't mind talking about that?
Well, few things. I mean, just partying as the thing, like the same kind of stories, like, it repeats, like when you go to the same places, same people, like you have like adventures, but it's still like the same thing. So like I got bored of that. Also, I realized that time comes. That's another interesting thing, that I have like quite a history of partying, but I saw that I'm getting older, but my friends are always like, young. So like, someone joins, like spend a year or few together and they just go to do their own thing. And I just find new young friends. So I thought that's not wrong. That's not right. I would need to kind of focus my time on something more meaningful. And another reason was finances. I got into big debts, so I had to get myself out of that. And my circle of people around me as well, I had to change it because, like, yeah, it wasn't healthy. So, and one more thing was that I had a relationship which ended up very badly.
So a lot of things like
exploded,
stacked up in one place in one period. But the good thing is that you left that period and something happened in you. So you were partying, you were spending a lot of time with maybe a bit younger people. You found yourself that you are maybe stuck. You found yourself in a breakup, and then you decided that you have to do something about it. So this is like it happens many times in people when they notice themselves from third person. They start to see themselves from third person, and they realize that something is not going right with their life, and then they start changing it. And in your case, I mean, I consider you relatively successful. You worked in United Kingdom, you worked in great companies, at least in my view. Now you're pursuing your own business. You're also interested in personal development. So on a surface, it seems that you're doing well, and it was from the beginning. But from what you're saying, you found yourself in that difficult period. And what did actually help you lift yourself from that pit, or how we could describe it?
Yeah, that's a good point, because like recently there was my birthday and I was thinking about that. So, like,
how
when
old
I
are
was
you
talking
now?
to my friends. The funny fact that I need to calculate in my head all the time, because for whatever reason time at 31 stopped. Now I'm 34.
34, okay.
But I was yeah, thinking that, I absolutely like changed my circle of people around me. Like I have some very much old friends from my like childhood, but like the majority are kind of new. And I was saying, like, me doing like this teenager camps and businesses and so on. But that was not the case like all the time. That's quite recent.
So when was that epiphany, when you got yourself out of that pit? When was around?
Yeah, so it was like the relationship probably was the last
No,
piece
no.
in
Sorry,
the.
sir, Marius.
Oh, sorry.
Year-wise, when did it happen? When you
Oh,
found? Yeah, what's the period?
it was something like 6 years ago, probably. Yeah, I spent
6 years
in
ago.
London. Yeah, I spent 5 years in London. Six, maybe six-ish, 7-ish.
So you were already somewhat successful. You were in Lithuania at that point, or were you already in UK?
No, I was in Lithuania.
Oh, I see.
I was doing quite okay, like in terms of I finished masters in software engineering.
Yeah.
Like career-wise, I was not like accelerating, but I was doing okay. Although now it seems I was wasting my time. But like, yeah, like the line was maybe like this, but still
Yes.
slightly going up.
Okay, so to summarize, so you are, as a child, you get interested in computers. Other people start to see potential in you, your aunt, your teachers. You decide to study informatics. It seems that you don't like the process of studying. You don't study a lot, although you get somewhat good grades. You complete your bachelor's degree, you complete your master's degree, right? When you start working in software engineering. Was it Java development immediately or something else?
I started working like when I was studying my bachelor's, the fourth like course. No, it was again. So after I sent my CV, I made my CV. I sent it to multiple companies. I got my first interview.
What was the
It was a
company?
very.
If you can
It
mention it,
was.
I'm not sure if you
I
can.
can do it. It was Adrana Baltic. It was
Adrana.
called.
Oh, I'm aware of them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, we can talk offline about them. I have an
Okay.
opinion. But it was very funny interview because like I knew so many keywords, like, and keywords, that's what needs to be on the CV.
Yeah.
And they invited me to the interview and asking questions.
So what were the
like,
keywords? What did you put on your CV?
Probably like, I don't know, Java, SQL, like basics like computer science, but probably the funny thing was like what shows my knowledge there. So they're asking about SQL. I don't know, like whatever, like the people understands, like developers, right? And like they're like, so there is a command like left join and like keys, like, so what does left join mean? I don't know. And then asking questions like moving further, and what does right join do? And it does pretty much the same as left join, just from the other side. So he was laughing, but said, "You are a very funny guy, but you need to like deepen your knowledge."
At some point,
IT.
you even had an idea to become a stand-up comedian. So it will be interesting to talk about that as well.
Yeah, that was another challenge which I decided to give myself. But so getting back to the how this got back into the programming. So even now there are so many internships. Pretty much any IT company is doing like internships because they need people. And in 2007 or 6-ish, that was not the case in Lithuania. So we found one company. They were doing like the HTML and kind of like web page, like, I don't know, simple web page kind of work. So they got us into the like some sort of internship. And that was the time.
When you say us, what do you mean us?
Oh, yeah, I was with my friends through that partying and this kind of journey. At least we started with a friend. So we've got into that office, and that was another moment which stuck in my mind, because like you come to after working like security guy, beer factory, like car washer, like all those works, you come into office and they're showing, no, this is tea, this is coffee, we have like pastries on Fridays, like this is your computer. And I was like, I could check news on the computer, like and so on. And I thought I need to stay here. And yeah,
so you thought that it is a comfortable job and you have to take it. But again, it was not the idea of solving problems of programming per se, but the comfort around that job.
You're very good at analyzing me and
Sorry.
my behavior.
No, but
That's
man,
true.
look, Marius. Let's be honest. Some people are good at one thing, others are good at the other. And once again, I want to maybe use this conversation to showcase your strengths. And unfortunately, not many developers are good at like connecting with people. And when you said that, how you explained the difference between left and right in terms of SQL databases, right? So you use like humor to get your way into that. And we're aware of the importance of humor in software engineering. It's like the most important coping mechanism against anxiety for a developer. You know, that meme thing is, I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out why it's so popular around developers. I mean, people in general maybe, but especially developers. So I guess it will be interesting to talk about that too as well. But nevertheless, you saw that comfort, but still, when you look at your CV, there's a lot of big names on it, and there's a lot of interesting projects you worked on. So despite the fact that maybe you were not the most geeky developer, you still made a career of that. And it shows that you had something that helped you. Maybe you were not the best developer, but you had other skills in your arsenal. So yeah, it would be interesting to talk about that. What do you think?
Yeah, this is very much true. I think that, yeah, I've got like, and that moment actually got me into the thing, because probably I think my key skill is like persistence. I'm very much like, and like discipline as well, like especially when I stopped partying. I had discipline in that as
you
well.
had discipline in partying, yeah, correct.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I'm very persistent, and that's why I like challenging myself. So in terms of like making the career, like, yeah, as you said before, I mentioned that comfort, and I see that, you know, it's quite interesting. And like, I like on that first day in that internship, I saw like people, colleagues, and they're super smart, and we had like conversations, and I want to hang out with these people. And that's how it started. And like, I moved to another like PHP developer, then started doing Java. So I always had some aspirations. They might not be like directly related to work. They were mainly like financial. And yeah, and then moving like forward, like I came up with that turning point when I decided that, you know, like I'm wasting my time, I need just to start doing something. So I created the biggest goal I could possibly think about. So going to Google, I created myself a plan. And in my plan was like London was like a stop between Lithuania and California. And like, it was not even London initially. I was like interviewing to Barcelona. I wasn't interviewing Zurich. I was just fishing around looking for something. I'm very glad that I ended up in London.
Marius, can you tell me about the process? Because maybe we're at the time when you don't need to travel to a different country to work for that company. I mean, remote work is flourishing, I guess, especially after or do. I guess it would be wrong to say after COVID, but still in COVID, right? And at that time, I guess it was a bit of a different story, and there were relatively many people who were considering the opportunities of migrating into a different country and actually living there and working there. And I think that this is a idea that is on other people's minds as well, even today. And it would be great, I think, and interesting for other people to learn. So what was the process of looking for that job? How to say, how did you do that? What was your procedure to be
well,
sure?
Internet. So there's one thing called
Was
internet.
LinkedIn popular at that point?
It was, I think, yeah.
It was already
LinkedIn
popular
as well. But I was like, LinkedIn was one channel, and there was like, you know, I had few friends, like one was in like, well, not necessarily friends, but ex-colleagues. Like one was in Barcelona, so I approached him like asking for some like advice.
Okay, so using your friend's help.
Yeah,
So just trying
that's
to
one.
see who is working where, and just trying to engage those people and maybe get some recommendations, references. Okay.
Uh, yeah, I mean, like, I'm trying to remember like the two
Mm,
things, because like, now I have slightly different approach, but also like I was really, uh, I knew some people who, like, I don't know, worked somewhere, or I read like in the newspapers or media that someone just worked there, did there, and I was like so much, I did admire, I still do, those people who worked abroad, because I think that's like, yeah, it gives slightly, like, not slightly, completely different perspective.
mm,
So like I was admiring those people, and I thought I want to do that as well.
mm,
And many people around me asked me like, are you not afraid? But I was not even considering that I'm afraid of something. I had just to deal with my crappy situation.
mm. You
So
were
that,
afraid of the possibility of not doing important things in life. So it was a
yeah,
bigger fear than just applying or living abroad in a way.
I think this is always the case about me,
Mm,
because when I decide something, and it's like, and when I do coaching, or just when I talk to people anyways, like my question is, what do you want? And other thing is just details, how to kind of get there. So there as well, I knew I want to go to like Google, and like all
mhm.
other things were just details how to get there. So LinkedIn, like, yeah, I talked to a few friends. Also, I was searching, like, so for example, like, I was looking to Switzerland. So like, like cvjobs.swiss. So I like,
Ah,
just
okay.
finding those websites.
Mhm.
But what's actually happened, um, probably I like did sign up for some like of those websites in the UK. I can't even remember, but there was one day when like the calls started just getting flowing. So I, like, my assumption is they just published my profile somewhere, and like recruiters start seeing it, and it was so many calls, like, I don't know, so something like 20 calls per day.
So recruiters were actually calling you on phone.
Yeah.
And when you, I mean, I'm sure that you're still engaged by recruiters. So did you notice a shift that recruiters are less using calls, like direct calls, cold calls?
Uh,
Or is anyone still calling in
Oh
terms
yeah,
of
they do. Now
they
I'm
do?
kind of talking to London. They do, and I really do prefer when they just call directly, because it's so
Okay.
much. It just saves time.
Look, and
But
this is
like many of them, what they do now is just like they often send an email. Can I call you? So, and I
no.
say yes, you can. Well, you can answer that if you don't like talking and prefer emails, but I prefer talking because I think it's just
Hmm.
like faster communication.
Okay, so for you, you don't mind getting a unknown number calling you. For you, it's fine, and because many software engineers hate that, they don't like being disturbed, and they prefer getting 20 messages on LinkedIn and just choosing the most interesting one. But for you, you're interested. You want to learn, it seems, and you think that you, by talking to those recruiters, you expand your network and you became even more visible. So it seems that you're using it like a strategy when you engage in those cold calls.
It's not even just like talking to recruiters, like
Hmm.
UK, right? Like British, like they're very political and polite people, right? And like there are certain norms how you communicate. I mean, it's always cultural, right? And like
Okay.
as Lithuanians or East, like Europe is very direct.
Hmm.
Uh, and I do like at work, for example, and like I've got feedback, and it was like relatively recent that I'm quite aggressive with my
Oh.
communication style. And
You
aggressive
don't
means
seem
that,
aggressive at all. But I
but
mean,
aggressiveness in
to
the
them.
sense that I go and talk to people. I don't slag them. I just go directly and ask the question. But I was, yeah,
Okay.
but that's how like we get job done
Yeah, yeah,
quickly.
yeah.
So yeah, but it's like, that was as my
Hmm.
kind of like feedback, like negative feedback. But
So it didn't work to your advantage for some reason, that aggressive part.
No. Just like I think I'm aware of it. I think that they're good. I'm aware of it, but also I think that's kind of my strength. That if I want something, I'll just emails, they take so much time and they don't necessarily work. But when you go and talk, like you get answers straight away.
Look, but speaking of that aggressive feedback, I mean, do you think that feedback was honest? Or was there like a undercurrent?
No, I think it's from that person, it was honest, because like, again, talking about the cultural differences, and like I was working in London and like, in their culture, and it's not even like that to have a comparison, right? Like I used to, and like that's what I still do like now, but like 10 years ago, it was even the thing. When you want to talk to something, you just get a phone and call.
Sure. So why it's aggressive?
So in the UK, what's happening, especially in London, it's not that you don't call, you text, but in the text you ask, can I call you in 15 minutes?
Yeah, right now. But at that time, you still would get calls, direct cold calls from UK recruiters without this type of messaging. So it seems that many people, like they want to, how to say, write a email or message before calling you, but some people don't do that. So when you talk about that part of getting aggressive feedback, at least if you allow me to analyze that situation, it seems that you found yourself in a situation where direct communication style was not a common one. So to me, it seems that they not necessarily, they found your style aggressive, it was untypical. And maybe they were somewhat intimidated by that, or maybe they even were jealous because they didn't have the guts to engage in such communication style. So I think that when I asked you, was there a undercurrent? So because I look, I work
you're a psychologist, so you tell me.
No, I mean, I'm interested in your opinion because I have some consulting work and I tend to provide feedback to software managers based on a competency assessment like 360 or something like that. And I see that there a lot of things are left unsaid in these situations. And when I get to people on one-on-one, they are more open to that. And it seems that there's a lot of intimidation in the corporate world. There's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and sometimes
politics
feedback
as well.
Of course, sure. But sometimes it seems that feedback is used like a, how to say, something to punish a person. Oh, you're an aggressive person. No, maybe you're a, how to say, a shy person, but it doesn't make you aggressive. So, I mean, in today's climate, understand that we are forced to, how to say, accept the cultural climate and just, or different climates. But again, when you say aggressive, oh, come on. I mean,
well, I think in that situation, because like that was actually that project was probably what
was the project? What did you work on at that time?
I did deliver a B testing platform. And it was that was my probably the most rapid growth in the shortest period of time, because I had so many responsibilities. And like initially I was hired like on my own, so I had to build a project and hire a team. So I think that I learned that emails don't work there, because like there were a few kind of teams or people which like you could talk on emails for ages, but there is no job done. So I learned that I just need to go and talk, and it is intimidating. I think for that person as well, it was like he's not used to that. I don't know whether he was kind of like intimidated, that's a good word, or jealous. I don't know, like the undercurrent, as you say, but also I know that this is how to say, I mean, this is like how, and I talked to my managers, right? And like I built, like some of my managers from that company are still my mentors and friends from now on. And like so they said, and what they liked is the attitude. And then I see that something doesn't work, I just change my strategy and do something else. So that was the thing, like emails don't work. And before that I worked in like a big corp where everything was on emails, and like I hated that. So,
And it's funny that at first it was email, now it's Slack. So
yeah.
how to say, the tool changed, but the problem remains, at least how I see it. Of course, I
Oh,
understand that Slack is more immediate, but once again, I will be open to you. I'm not a fan of Slack. I
I can
sometimes
see.
think that you can see why.
Well, when you say a problem exists, so like
Sure.
it looks a problem for you, but probably if you ask like many like the developers, they don't see it as a problem.
How do you see it? Because it seems that there's too
Or
much time
communication.
spent on that platform.
I agree. Yeah, I like direct communication. I mean, I don't like emails at all. Slack is so much better than emails, but talking in person is so much better than Slack.
But not necessarily in person. I mean, look, so I will tell you a story. So it will be a story from my counseling work. So I'm just thinking how to make it as confidential as possible. So I had a client who is a software engineer, and his problem was that he found it difficult to ask for feedback, and asking for feedback is one of the most difficult problems in general. But he would do that in a very strange way. So he thought that if I will ask a question, so let's say by asking that question, he will disturb that person.
Yes, I know what you mean.
And then we were trying to figure out that situation, understand, so what's the problem? Because you cannot assume that the person is busy if he's on Slack and if he is online. He or she, or in general, doesn't matter the pronoun. But and what solution he came up with is to write a bigger post where he explains. So he writes the question and he describes his thinking, how he would engage with that question or that problem, and then he would be more courageous by asking that question because he feels that he did his homework. And but eventually we even moved further, and I helped them find, how to say, courage to agree to get on a call with that person, because it seems that when those discussions became further, how to say, they get out of hand, it seems that there's a lot of miscommunication and people just exchange messages, and it takes 1 hour, 2 hours, instead of just getting on a call and just doing it in 5 minutes. So so this is the problem I'm trying to nail down, is that because there's fear to look stupid, people decide to engage via Slack. But the fact that they can engage in Slack in productive ways, it also doesn't help because they are not using it properly,
Yes, and I totally agree. That's a big thing, and I think it really comes down to company culture and leadership, at both like team level and like the top management level. Like the job role, I don't know, like the of a team lead, they need to create that psychological safety within the team. And like if I am a team lead and I can see like one of the members of a team, they don't speak, like so that's like they try different strategies to connect to that person and get like him talking. But even more, I was working in the company where it was a startup, and like the CEO, he was super nice guy. He was like, you could hang out with him, like like as he's your friend and as you know him forever. And as usually the the personality of a founder reflects within the culture of a startup. And as he was a good guy, we had like, I won't go through the whole stories, but we ended up in a culture where and they use that, I don't like that word, like confronting, just like being firm on a decision, saying something that other people might not like. So we had so many kind of dust, which I hidden under the carpet, and no one is talking about it. I was the only person in the company who talks about those topics. And like the founder was a nice guy. He was like, ignoring those things, and like, yeah, it's like and we had that elephant in the room. So I think that's like what comes to your question, is that this needs to be solved, like this could be solved at the organizational culture or within like a team kind of level, just by providing a leadership.
So this is, I guess this is your strength to me, Marius. Maybe you are not the most geeky person, although I feel that you are. Maybe not the most geeky person, but still you have that courage to not confront people, but just to engage with them in an open conversation, ask open questions, talk to them, and just try to, take that elephant out of under the what's that word?
Room.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So talking about you. So was it like were you this from your early childhood, or did you develop your ability to engage in open, honest communication?
Yeah, I think like I like when we say about confront, what I like is saying like asking uncomfortable questions and touching uncomfortable topics. No, I was not at all the most, no. Like I was very shy probably. And I was the one who listens and not asks uncomfortable things. And you mentioned the stand-up comedy here, so probably that's a good segue into that topic. Because when I when I came to London, my English was terrible. I mean, honestly, I got a job, because my job was to write code. So, but I was very bad at communicating, and like talking in English was my biggest fear. So in the meetings, when we had like, I don't know, 20 people around the table, and I mean, I understand, but when I want to say something, I need to think so long until how I want to say it, then the thing becomes irrelevant. At all. And then I just open my mouth. If I'm not prepared, then I get all the tension. I turn red and like all blushing. And then that's it, right? I'm just stuck. So I had a goal, like public speaking, whatever it is. Like I didn't know what's the goal, but I was like, I need to deal with this. And I decided I won't talk in meetings until I start, like I get, like I learn English. Basically, I mean, English, there was two things, like one is English language and two is like kind of still getting getting like the dealing with stress. So English lessons I got online from Lithuania. I had a teacher, but with the public speaking was so I was thinking quite a bit of how I could improve on it. And one day I found a course. It was in like central London. It was called Public Speaking for Shy People. I thought, that's it. That's for me. That's it. So it was like an entire Saturday. It was very fun. Teacher was really good. I did really enjoy the class. And at the end of the class, they said, so we normally prepare comedians. On Monday, we are starting a stand-up comedy course. It's 7 weeks course with the showcase in the pub. Do you want to join? And I was, oh shit, I'm so much afraid.
So you're afraid of you're afraid of engaging in public speaking, but you have to engage in public speaking and be funny. It's just like a double challenge, right?
Exactly. And I was like, yeah, get me in.
But look, that get me in, I'm still not getting my head around that. So many people, they understand what they have to do. They have to improve their maybe communication skills. They have to become more honest, maybe more authentic, but they don't get that inner motivation, inner courage to overcome that fear or that not disability, but that drawback, let's say they consider drawback. I think that, again, many things people consider drawbacks are not drawbacks. They are just multitude things. So it can be, it can solve a problem and can create a problem. So, I mean, just because someone is shy doesn't mean that person is, you know, not talkative. Maybe the person is talkative in different situations with different people about different topics, you know. So it, you know, there was, how to say, labels. I think they are not helping people. So they convince themselves that they are shy or they have social anxiety, and they believe in that, and they don't have that courage to overcome themselves. But you would have that courage. You pulled yourself from a difficult period, after a breakup, after a party period. You pulled yourself out of a difficult situations where your communication skills or English skills were not the best. So if you just can, you know, how to say, just think aloud, what did actually help you find that inner courage?
I mean, as I said before, I usually like think about what I want, and I knew that I want, like, you know, public speaking, like, you know, I want to deal with like my fear and anxiety of that. And it's like, so this was just the details how to get there. I know I'm uncomfortable, but this was like an early beginning of me like getting into uncomfortable situations. And one of the first people I met in London, he's a very wise man. Like that's what he said, that, you know, London, like in London, there is two type of people, like either like London destroys you or you flourish in London. Because it's busy, many people, and if you're introverted, especially, and if you're just not getting engaged in what you're doing, like you won't thrive there. So I was thinking, I don't want to be that one who is destroyed by London. I just, like, you know, also I had no way back, right? I just left everything, like, you know, in Lithuania, like all my circle of friends, like my social kind of there's no family, right? No friends, no nothing, right? I can hardly speak English. And I was literally thinking when I was there, I have like a blank sheet of paper, and now I can just paint it the way I want to. So there was no one to judge. Like if it was in Lithuania at that time, I don't know how this would end up. But there was no, like, you know, environment, and I didn't care. So yeah, so that's, I thought, let's just do it. And this ended up in, so think about the class. It was like 20 of us, like some are kind of experienced, like, you know, there's all beginners, but still some did something before, someone like, you know, super shy as me. And you get into the class, and then they, like, the teacher says, like, you go in front of a class, like there's 20 of us sitting there, and just be odd. You have 1 minute, just be odd. And like, you know, some people are screaming, shouting, talking, jumping, like, I don't know, doing rolling, anything, like, doesn't matter. But the key thing is just, you know, get comfortable with uncomfortable. And so this went on until the showcase in the pub. That week was funny. Now when I look, it was very funny because I was so stressed. Like on my way to the showcase, it was a pub on, like, I don't know, Saturday or Sunday night. And they expected about 100 people to be there.
Oh, that's
exactly.
a bit of an audience. That's like a small Lithuanian conference, maybe a bigger meetup. So
no, that was a proper audience.
Plus,
so
they were like London, so people like more locals, foreigners. What was the audience?
No, in this situation, it was actually in our advantage, because it was a showcase. So it was 20 of us, just classmates, plus most of the people who are friends of the friends, right? There was some, like, you know, who come just to hang out. So the audience, I mean, I was not thinking about that. In my mind, it was 100 people, right?
Like a mass, a big mass, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all going to, they want to, I don't know. Yeah, they're all against me. So on the way there, on the tube, like the metro in London, like I missed my stop because I was just rehearsing and thinking in my head. I jumped on this next stop, crossed the platform, went back again, forgot to again miss my stop again. On the third time I got like successful. I was all sweaty when I came into the pub. I went straight to the toilet because I was just, and the worst is when you know the sequence and you know that you're going to be the seventh and the sixth is already on stage, and like those minutes. But
so you were on time.
Great.
You were on time.
I was 2 hours early, right?
Really?
Yeah, you don't want to miss your show. And like my rule was, do not have any alcohol, because I know some people did have like a pint or something.
I mean, it can help, because it loosens you. So
yeah, but the goal is not to get loosen me. The goal is just to get comfortable with uncomfortable.
Okay, got it. So despite the fact that you were somewhat late according to your plan, you still were way earlier before the show. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's also a great lesson that if you're doing something for the first time, so plan way ahead in terms of time and leave a good buffer before that important thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, interesting. So how was the show? I mean, I think that you posted that video somewhere, but I wasn't able to access it. I think it would be interesting to see your...
I can show you that I have it recorded. I had my blog at the time, so the video was posted.
You don't have it anymore?
Yeah, domain expired, and I just was like, yeah, it was not. Yeah, I thought I don't need it anymore, and it's like, yeah, it's a different story. But
are you planning Are you planning to get back to it one day?
Well, some branding thing will certainly do very shortly. But regarding to the gig itself, it went really good actually. Like the first 2 minutes were like, was super intense. I was like, I had my notes, right? It's like on my palm, but I was sweating so much that I washed them all.
So how much time did you have on the stage?
We all had 5 minutes.
Oh, so but still 5 minutes is a lot.
It's
when
not
you think about it.
It's not it looks like, trust me, it looks like in like ages. It is quite a thing, but it went really good. So the first minute or two I was stressed, but then I thought that they are kind of doing it. I felt that they're listening. I'm kind of controlling the audience, and they do what they ask, and I felt so much like such a big like rush of adrenaline, and like, yeah, I just got completely relaxed, and I finished so happy, like all energized, and then after that, actually, like I was so energized that when I came back home, I was not even sleeping until like 5 in the morning or something.
That. Yeah, it happens. It happens. This is what adrenaline does. So, yeah, and I think it's important to realize that when we have that fear of public speaking, depends if you have to go on a comedy show or you have to give a speech for a meetup, technical one maybe. People, what they don't realize is that they are in a way two different people. And one person is like the one who's afraid, who has those terrible images, terrible visualizations before the show or the meetup, and the other person who stands on the stage. And what people have to realize is that usually the person who will be on the stage, it will be a different person. And it might be even the most entertaining part of yourself. And sometimes people don't realize that they have that themselves. So, because they think that, okay, they will go on the stage and they will just, sweat, and they will not be able to say a word. And sometimes it can happen, and it happens. But nevertheless, if you don't stress yourself too much, usually it goes fine. And it has to go fine, because, I mean, of course, if you go into a situation where people want to destroy you, I mean, if the audience is not on your side, so of course, it will be difficult. But if you're going in a meetup or conference where people just want to learn something from you, So why would they destroy? I mean, it doesn't make sense. So yeah, so I think that your story is quite inspiring, how you are able to put yourself into in this comfort zone and just do it. Yeah.
Probably I will add up on top of this that I felt like a king of the world after doing that. Like, I'm not afraid of anything else. And it's like 2 or 3 days later, I was like working at like Sky. Sky is a TV, like television in like the UK and Europe. It's corporation. And we had like an offsite session somewhere, just, doing like quarter or something like results. And like there was like something like 80 of us, maybe like a department. And my manager came to me, do you want to do your gig here? And I was like, oh shit, I'm so much afraid of it. Okay,
gig like comedy?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Get me on stage.
Awesome.
And it looked like, basically, so there is like, charts, like, in the background. So this is like, we did this and that last 6 months. This is, we're going to do this and that for the next 6 months. And now it's comedy stand-up. So, and I end up such like a random guy. And the difference is what I didn't realize then is when you're in the pub, people are still having drinks and they, so that's why warming kind of like groups or like musicians or like gigs, they're always
so people
there
are warmed up already. They are into the mode.
In the offsite session about work, everyone is bored, right? Everyone's to go back, to go home, basically. And like, I got few laughs. It was very embarrassing, actually. But I didn't care. But after that, everyone in the department knew me. So, and after, I didn't care anymore about like public speaking. I did another course. It's like the next level course in comedy. But I think from then, that's like, you can say anything to me. It's not affecting me.
Okay. So speaking of courses, I still realize that we didn't get into that Google journey, but we will, I hope so. But nevertheless, speaking of courses, so I'm aware that you are relatively well certified in terms of self-development. So you have a master's degree in applied positive psychology and coaching psychology. So this is the same course I took as well in University of East London. So it's basically how we get to know each other. But I learned that you are also a certified neuro-linguistic programming practitioner. And you took a course with what's that name? What's the name of the guy who created NLP?
Richard Bandler.
Richard Bandler, a very controversial person, and NLP is very controversial. And I just want to get your opinion. I mean, as someone who's working in counseling and coaching as well, I realize that a lot of people are, especially in software engineering, they are very skeptical of such type of professions, such type of things. They think that it's a scam, but nevertheless, many people find value, or either when they are studying or when they are taking coaching sessions, maybe even NLP. I'm aware that NLP is relatively popular in the UK. Maybe it's a different story there. And I also remember you saying about a story when some of your friends or colleagues said that when you wrote about, I think that you were looking for participants for your coaching module. You had to coach a certain amount of people to pass the course, or maybe you just discussed the opportunity of becoming a coach or studying coaching. I don't remember correctly, but that person wrote or told you privately that, oh, so you will be another coach. So there's also the problem that there's too many of those people trying to do like psychotherapy, but not psychotherapy. Help people heal, help people grow, but with less education, but there are courses where it's actual education. So your course took like how much, at least years, so proper master studies in terms of coaching psychology. So let's discuss that if you don't mind. So at first, why did you get into these things? I'm also aware that you participated in Tony Robbins courses, was also very somewhat controversial, very popular, but also controversial. So how did you end up in these programs, in these courses?
Probably Yeah, probably I can tell the little of a backstory, how this all started. And I was in London. I mean, I had my plan, right? Like the Google plan. It worked perfectly. Like my Google plan was like, I had like few years plan, and like, yeah, everything were just on the plan, and even better. So there was a very much final steps on the plan. So I like finished my contract. I was not looking for another one, so that I could start interviewing full time. And I was interviewing full time with San Francisco. Uh, that's another lesson for whoever
Sorry,
is
Marius, this was
interviewing.
after Sky. Yeah, like your first job in UK was Sky, right? But you
Yeah.
had also some other jobs. So when you had that full-time period of looking for a job?
So I was working at Sky.
Oh,
After Sky, I started like some of my I started doing like a consultancy work
oh,
because some of my friends were doing that. So they got me
like
into
IT
another.
consulting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I did have like few more projects on that. So after one or other project, basically I just took some time. Though I was just decided, right? So I decided that I'm going to interview or get a job. I mean, I was talking to lawyers. I had plan A, B, C, D, and so on. Even I was thinking if I won't get anything, I'll just go to San Francisco for 3 months and hang out there. And like, again, I don't like emails or calls. I'll just go directly to people. um, so I was not starting another contract, but I was intensively interviewing. And that's a lesson. If you want to work for a company, don't go to interview with it first, then just practice. Do some practice with other companies first, and then just interview with whatever you want. So
In other words, if you want to join, let's say Google, practice with other companies. Don't like lose your precious chance to join that important company, right?
Yeah, you learn through interviews, and I think it's very selfish way, wasting other people's and companies' time. I had offers which I declined. I even had offer from JP Morgan, which is like a massive bank, and they offered me like a very good position to join in London with the possibility after a year or something to move to the US office. I declined
but it was
that as
a
well.
team leader role, right? Team manager or team leader. So it was not like a software engineer role per se.
Yeah, it was a new team. They were forming a new team, and I was like the first one there. But
why did you decline them?
So then I'll come back to this. Basically, so what happened is like I had my big plan. It was at the very last stage of my plan, and I was interviewing like all the FANG, like Facebook, Google, Amazon, like. And I was not even able to sleep. I had this book somewhere, like, crack the coding interview. I was like, spent like 6 months waking up, like doing very long hours.
Working on algorithms, right?
Data structures and so on and so on. And I was not even able to sleep. Like literally, like my head was so full of everything. And then my friends, they were going to a meditation retreat. I have never done meditation in my life. I had nothing to do with it.
So Marius, what was your idea of meditation when you heard that they are doing meditation? What was the image of meditation at that point?
Well, you cross your legs, sit under the tree, right, and then just until you just start flying.
Somewhere,
So I had nothing to do with it at all ever in my life. But they gave a very good point that you at least will have, because it was like outside of London, somewhere in the middle of nowhere. So they said they are going to feed you quite well. So you will relax, you'll change environment, and maybe that's, I was thinking that's quite a good chance. Maybe I'll have a good sleep there.
During that period of interviewing,
that was like a week.
Okay.
That was a weekend, like the weekend offline. And I went, like, you turn your phone off and you just stay there, like do those meditation introduction things, like.
So what the meditation was like, you imagine like sitting with your legs crossed and becoming enlightened, or was it like different?
It's no, I mean, it's like more, what's the words, like more No, it's more simple as it looks like, right? But they're teaching not just sitting there, but the philosophy, how to,
Okay.
just get relaxed, how to get your head clear. Um,
Mm.
so after that whole weekend, I came back on, like, so you leave on Friday, turn off your phone, and then on Sunday back, you can turn your phone on.
Okay.
I was so quiet and relaxed that I even kept my phone off for 1 or 2 days. So,
Amazing.
um, and like I had my notebook. I like writing down. I have like spreadsheets for everything, and I just write down my ideas. So I had
Hmm.
my notebook there, and I was like reading one of the books. I think it was how it's called,
You have
Napoleon
quite a
Hill.
library there.
Napoleon Hill. So
Oh,
Think and Grow Rich. So they had questions, and I was going through questions, answer questions. And during that time, something like I started questioning, why do I want to work for Google? Um,
mm.
and I always thought I have very strong arguments, right? I go there, I'm within the best of like the, of the world. I get ideas. I'll just, sharpen my skills, and then then I'll learn everything, find like contacts. And I was planning to come back to Lithuania just, with contacts and
Yeah.
ideas, those to start my own business. But then I started kind of like questioning my arguments. Uh, it took me a while and probably another accident. So now I ask whether it's like accident or this is fortune. So, so I came back, like my motivation for like interviewing kind of, it did not stop, but it's kind of yeah, I was more like, I was more cautious of like what I'm doing. So I kind of stopped the whole like crazy progress of what I was doing.
Mm.
And I took few months off. Like I was not doing like, spiritual trip to India or something, but I was in London, but I had time to think and like, again, with my notebook, ask and answer questions. And I had plan like for myself, like, well, a goal that year I want to do 2 conferences, to go to 2 conferences. And I bought one conference, like the QCon, it's like a IT conference. And I still had another conference, which I didn't know where to go. I was just thinking about something, and one morning I woke up, and I was just scrolling Facebook, and I saw on the Facebook something like Tony Robbins London, like, discount today. And like I knew nothing about him as well. I just knew that one of my friends like once told me that,
Mm.
he's a good guy, he's doing this and that. And like, I was thinking, interesting, I should try it. So I bought a ticket, and that's it. And I went in a few months. I haven't watched anything. I haven't read anything. I didn't even know what to expect. I just went there, which was absolutely different from what I expected.
Hmm.
But through all that time, it took me to set up like my head, and I realized that going to Google was what you said in the beginning, is just trying to meet the expectations of others and to prove something to someone. And
Mm.
even if I go with JP Morgan to the US, I was like calculating, right? So I spent 12, 18 months in London. Uh, so the moving would take probably about 2 years. Then I spent 2 more years in like the US. So it's 4 years, and then I come back to Lithuania. I went to Lithuania. Why would I wait 4 or 5 years? I can do it now. And and that's how all those courses. So Tony
Mm.
Robbins really like shaked my head, and I did like few other of his things. I did NLP as well, because I found the whole like self-development field. They helped me a lot. Uh, I think one of my goals was to try different philosophies, because like masters, which we did as well, right? It's like another perspective. They all are different perspectives.
Sure.
They all have their own pros and cons. So instead of like choosing one and just believing in it
Yeah.
fully, completely, I thought I want just to kind of check everything around and kind of create my own philosophy. So I have bits from everywhere,
Sure.
what I
Sure.
think is right for me. And yeah, and that's it. And I think like this kind of, it gave me a lot of confidence in knowing myself.
So let's discuss it a little bit, because I think it's an important topic, at least for me, because I guess I'm in that field, although self-development, even that concept is a bit shaky. So there's a problem when people get into meditation. A lot of things start popping up because certain practices, for some reason, they are related, and we can call them self-development practices, but in the popular culture, they can look cheesy to a skeptical and intellectual person, intelligent person maybe, because when we start talking about meditation, we get that image, that cheesy image of someone sitting with one's legs crossed and becoming enlightened. So if a person does not consider oneself spiritual, whatever that means, and so it already can be a put off. The person might not understand the mechanism of that, sitting in that pose, and why you have to sit in that pose in certain meditations and not the other way around, why you have to engage in that philosophy, why it's actually important. They just think that, okay, it's a brainwash, and they just want to take my money. Okay.
That's what my parents used to told me about all that.
And it's a very reasonable, I think, first idea. And we try to save ourselves from danger. And if someone we believe is, how to say, motivated to take money from us, precious money we have to earn often in difficult ways. We are skeptical about that, and it's totally reasonable. But at the same time, that skepticism can be over the top. And from what you're saying, meditation, when you ask, for example, if you ask me, what do you think about meditation? I would say depends on the meditation and depends on the instructor. If you ask me about what do you think about coaching, depends on the coach and depends on the maybe education of the person.
And like the person who wants to do it, right?
For example, and his motives, his training, his credentials, and etc. So, but nevertheless, when people get into this field, even if it's academic, let's say like coaching psychology, positive psychology, or if it's popular culture like NLP, Rachel Bandler, or Tony Robbins, or maybe some cheesy meditation courses, usually all people who get into this field, regardless of the status or the academic level, they find value. And there was a period when I was very skeptical. I was an atheist. I thought that there's nothing interesting about the world. It's just facts, materialism, evolution. I rejected all these kinds of forms, and I still do in a way. I'm still at the core a academic, relatively materialistic. Maybe I became more agnostic. Maybe I became more curious. And I stopped judging people from that first notice, first look. And because once again, I see people that they get value from these different practices. And when we talked about that part of getting robbed by those ugly coaches or NLP trainers, to be honest, when you look at software engineering and a lot of contracts that are done in this field, maybe a lot of startups, maybe especially in blockchain in the beginning as well, a lot of stuff is just also a waste of money. A lot of companies are not successful. They are just buried under the ground. A lot of dollars are wasted for nothing. And when you think about it, so you have that weird self-development thing, and you have that very technical, very data-driven software engineering. In a way, there's also always someone who wants to take your money, and there's always someone who wants to make a difference. And I think, just because software engineering is the hype and everyone wants to become a software engineer because it's great, it pays a lot, they do interesting things. When you actually get into that job, it's basic work. It's just, you solve problems, you try to do it as professionally as possible, you engage with people, and you get paid. That's it. There's no that like something magic, blah, blah, blah. matrix level coding, screens changing, colors changing. That image that our parents get when they think about coding is just like, writing instructions and just hoping that thing will work and there will be no errors.
Is a very good work.
So, so sorry for that trend, but what is your idea? Because I sometimes I find myself in a different situation where I understand people because I coach and counsel a lot of engineers, but at the same time I'm sympathetic about their skepticism and also skeptical of their skepticism because that no one's perfect. Software engineering as a field is not perfect as well. So just what's your thoughts on that? Self-development versus materialistic, data-driven, blah, blah, blah. But, and in a way, they're interrelatedness. Yeah.
Yeah, probably I would say there are a few angles on that.
Okay.
So one is that, there is different people, right? There is like good coaches, like better coaches, like crappy coaches. There is like good developer, crappy developer. There is good plumber, there is bad plumber, right? The difference is that with being a plumber, you need to have tools and you need to have some sort of understanding, right? And in doing something, like when you are a coach, you create a website and you are a coach, right? So there are many people who do it. It's like as any other industry, it's like there's value there, absolutely. Just there are people who are implementing it right, or some are less educated, some are doing for more selfish reasons. Someone wants to sell more and more, like I don't know, like, but the same with any other industry.
So Marius, just to stop here, just let's do a little detour. So speaking of you, what did you get from these courses? And why did you decide to become a coach, at least part-time, and help people? What was your motivation? Because I guess it's important to be open about that and realize that not everyone wants to get easy money. People actually want to help and they have reasons for doing that. So what's your background? What's your idea?
Because I see value in it. I think all those courses again, so that like and it really fits into what I was aiming to say. So the second angle is philosophy, right? Like you choose what you want to believe. Like there is science, like scientifically proved things, and there's spiritual, unmeasurable practices, whatever, right? And you sit somewhere here, right? Sometimes so you move. So when I did those many different kind of things, I was kind of developing my own philosophy and discipline of what works for me, what I think is right and what is wrong. And I'm not trying to prove. I think the worst when it gets when people started to be very dogmatic and this is the best thing. This is when someone says this is the best. I tried everything, like they changed
and
your
sorry,
life.
Marius, and we see a lot of it in discussions, like which tool to use, which language to use.
Exactly.
Which architecture. I mean, there's a lot of religious talk in these discussions.
Exactly. It's exactly the same thing. So they all have the pros and cons. That's it. And you choose, like in terms of technology, when you need to build a project, like there is Java or C#, right? It's like BMW or Mercedes, Ronaldo or Messi, right? There's no right or wrong. It's just different things, and you choose whatever you're more comfortable with. So those courses, I mean, they taught me. So when I was like getting back slightly to that whole like Google trip, I was never thinking, right, like about myself. I was like, what I realized eventually, I'm very much affected by my environment, and being in London on my own without any kind of social impact, it really showed me, like, I had to move on and just you do it the way you are, not because someone else expects or wants you to do something. So I really started like asking myself questions, because I didn't even know what I like, what I don't like, who am I, like, I got into very existential things. But I had my plan and I was like moving forward without even deeper asking myself, why do I want that? And when I got through those meditations, like Tony Robbins, then eventually like NLP and like those like smaller or bigger things, I started questioning myself and thinking about the things which I have never asked before.
Okay.
And it gave me a lot
So what
of
were the
like awareness.
questions? What were the questions you asked yourself? Like, for
Ooh.
example.
Oh, I don't even know where to start. I mean, like, I did masters, right, in like psychology, and one of my probably the key question, because I got into very kind of existential period of time, because financially, like, I mean, I've got myself out of all that trouble.
Yeah.
Career-wise, it's like accelerated. I was doing my consultancy, and like I discovered my strengths, my weaknesses, because before that I was not even able to say that, right?
So you became more self-aware of your needs, or
Yeah,
what you want to do and why you want to do it. Because at the beginning,
yeah,
maybe it was more like externally motivated. It was what
yeah,
others expected from me. But then you realize what you want yourself as a person, as an engineer,
yeah,
as a coach, whatever. You just,
as a human being,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
And this is like, as I did those Tony Robbins, I saw people are doing very fanatically and dogmatically. I was very cautious about everything.
Sure.
That's why I wanted to try different like disciplines and see, so I could compare them. And like when I did masters as well, like it was very existential. I was thinking so much about meaning. I mean, I have like massive books about meaning.
What was your
um,
favorite one that touched you the most in terms of this topic? Maybe any
uh,
recommendations?
Viktor E. Frankl,
Oh,
Man's Search for
Man's
Meaning.
Search for
That's
Meaning. Okay,
classic.
sure,
He
sure.
was the kind of like founder of like existential psychology. So one of the um, outcomes, probably like when I realized this during the course, like, you know, when you come from maths and IT,
Yeah.
it's always algorithms and formulas. 2 + 2 = 4.
It
So when I
seems
came,
that it's always about that, but usually
it
it's not.
should end up that way, at least
Yeah,
you expect.
what people
And when
think
I
when
came
they
to
get into this.
philosophy, like, you know, in psychology, there is so much philosophy.
Sure.
And I was like, you know, I was thinking, okay, like I want to find out what is it exactly I want to do in life, what I want to, you know, just become and so on. So I thought, okay, give me the theory. I'll just submit the variables and that's it. And it's clear for me. And then just, you know, this is 1 theory, 2 theory, 3, like against like the contra theory. And then like, I was like, so confused that it doesn't work that way. So I realized that's like there is no ultimate truth. I think I came up that authenticity, I think, is the key thing, is that we all are aware of ourselves and we act on that. Without like, you know, there is always social, I mean, there's like many layers on that, but as long as we're able to act authentically and do not kind of like what's the word, intersect, or I don't know, like kind of damage other people and just, you know, just be part of society, that's good. So I felt a really big value of all that. So there is like, there is no one grand thing, it's just many little things which did add up. And I think that created me a very big interest in psychology. And as I kind of like started changing myself and I got again like financially okay and everything went okay, started looking for meaning. So that's why I started the NGO for teenagers, because the uh, the reason is like, especially, I mean, I'm from the environment, from the village, right? Like so in that environment, no one ever asked what is I want, what is it I like, you know, everyone say what I should do or what I shouldn't. And I think as early you ask those questions, the easier it gets later. So we want just to share our kind of experience with like youngsters, teenagers in this situation, so that they better know like, you know, what they want. And we have like a very good success stories, like one boy, he's like, he came to the first camp, he decided that he wants to finish the school like fully. Then second time he decided he wants to get into university and learn engineering, because when he came the third camp, he thought he wants to, like, he's very into mechanics and into cars, he wants to open his own like garage and starts like like fixing other people's cars. Before that, he was not even thinking about that at all.
So
all that
I want to stop you, Marius. So speaking of your initiative, so Healthy Code, right? Or Sveikas Kodas in Lithuanian. So
NGO,
yeah, so it's an NGO you set up yourself or with someone else. Are there any other people you want to give a shout out?
Yeah, probably. Of course, there is other people. I wouldn't.
But basically, you were the founder, right? If I understand correctly.
Yeah, it was. We were going because I was thinking that we should do something. I was thinking about different ways.
Yes.
And there was one time we were going from like Žalgiris from the basketball game. There was like a friend. We hired the van. Basically, we went all together there, and we were going back. And I was thinking, like, saying to my friends, "What do you think if we, we do the camp and do this and do that and do that and just, just kind of ask the questions. We didn't have this. We would do sports." And he was, "Yeah, I would like to do sports. I could just," he's very enthusiastic into sports. "Yeah, I could do just a workout. I could do this. I could do that." And there were other guys like one said, "I even would like to have a child and send to your camp."
So speaking of the camp, so it's like a what's the duration of the camp?
So the very first one was 6 days and nights.
Oh, so around the week, right?
So now we do like 4 days. I think it's a good time when it's not too boring and like they want to stay, and like us, we want to stay, but it's time to go home. So that you want to come back. It's like you're watching the Netflix series, right?
Yeah. and that camp. So it's like it's a very interesting one, because not only you learn how to code, you teach those young children, but you also have a lot of sports activities. You have like courses about leadership. So it seems that you're tackling the problem like a multitude one, a complex problem that you realize that, okay, people have to use their left and right side of the brain in a way. And you want to make sure that these people, boys as well as girls, right?
Yeah.
They would realize what they want to do with their life and how they might use maybe coding in their situation.
Yes. And I like what we actually did. So the first camp, in general, in my kind of like view, it was that IT was like a hook to get everyone in.
I see.
But my main idea was to work on those psychology topics, so that we kind of like like that we had speaker guests and so on and so on. So, and we got the biggest feedback from parents about those psychology thing, about the transformations of the kids.
Oh, wow.
So we decided to just take that direction. So like we removed the IT bit now. So we talk a lot about
no IT. Okay.
Now it's no IT, but we do like a lot on psychology. And
so now code is like a metaphor for one's psychology.
Yeah. And it is like, if you think about neuro-linguistic programming, it's code, but it's not related. It's not that.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, it's that the name is still there, but it's like what I like to say is that even in the last camp, we do like, we do like a showcase with parents the very last hour. So when teenagers, they present to their parents what they did, what they learned, like who am I, what's I like, what I don't
so everyone
like,
is doing a presentation at the end.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's even parents, they said, would you do one for parents?
And what is the feedback? What is the feedback, actual feedback? Maybe you remember any testimonials, maybe let's say, maybe someone is listening who has a child who's like in their 10 teenage years, right? 10, 11, 12, something like that. And they think that their kid would get value from it. So what were the actual testimonials by other parents?
Oh, I mean, probably we have 100% satisfaction, at least from what we hear. Yeah, I mean, like, first of all, it's not commercial. We do it because we like, right? And that is like cost is also like a joke. So like it's very like heart touching, and like as I said before, like the one of those like boys, he even changed his whole like attitude towards what he wants in life. Also, like a mom said that her son stopped beating his sisters, and instead he started taking care of them. Like one mom said, like that was even, so when I talked to her, she said, you know, when I asked my son, like he says, like, how is it? And he was like, it's not too bad. And when I asked him, he said it's fantastic. So even that's a new word which I haven't heard before.
Oh, I see. So they like even expanded their vocabulary by participating in this
yeah, I mean,
camp.
like when I say expanded vocabulary, it's because he enjoyed it like so much that it's not just okay,
Sure.
but it was really good. Yeah, I mean, like everyone, they ask us to do more of those activities. Obviously, we are volunteering, and it's like, you know, in time. We did hikes, we did online challenges, we did like meetups outside of the camps. We did multiple things. But yeah, I think it's very useful, and we have a very big support from like education departments, like locally, from some other NGOs as well. So they support us, and we collaborate a little bit. So yeah,
yes, it's like it's a good topic, because if you're not supporting such thing, that would be weird. So if you want to get funding, do something with children, and better it would be positive and
yeah, I mean, you have to do it right.
Sure, of course. It seems that you're doing well, and parents are super satisfied about the project. So I totally get it. So nearing to the end, because it seems that we're at the end of our second hour. So what's on your table right now? What are you working on? And what is your idea for the future? So just give me an idea about that.
Yeah, so still talking about the psychology topic, I am well, thinking and doing, but like a lot of thinking how to combine my interest in psychology and like skills in IT. So, well, as you have heard, you know, we are preparing those like the articles on like the motivation and well-being of software developers, which in my view, like eventually could turn into a digital product and consultancy as well. I have that bit of which I call like within my like goals called psychology. I'm trying to fully define it. I'm doing a little bit of coaching, some organizational psychology. Well, this like the article now we're preparing. So really try to fit it with the IT, because on the IT side, I started a consultancy company here, like my friends. I have a full product team here in Lithuania. We
What's
have
it
few
called?
clients. Flow IT.
Flow. Is it like Flow from Zhigsek Mihali's work on the state of flow? So
yeah,
you're already combining IT and psychology. You're taking a psychological concept and just putting into an IT. That's great. So you believe that your products maybe allow people to get into flow, or is it once again just a metaphor?
I think, like, I mean, I'm already like whatever psychology, where is people, there is psychology, obviously.
Sure, of course.
So I think like the psychology knowledge, like you utilize it like when you talk to your clients, to your like, you know, team or whatever, it really helps to understand people. And yeah, so providing good service is as well, like, you know, you need to understand other people and their needs, and that's how coaching helps. I became a really advocate of coaching. I recommend to everyone to do that. So the Flow IT, it's also trying to, because it's a very young business, so now we are providing like an IT service. But also I'm thinking about like kind of expanding on this like consultancy of like organizational psychology. So I think if probably what I want to do is that, knowing that my kind of problems I had through my life, right, just kind of not asking questions about myself and trying to meet someone else's expectations. So I am trying to help other people to kind of them be authentic, and then create that environment. So whether it's within the team or doing consultancy for like IT companies, just so that people feel comfortable and they go to their job as to have fun instead of just like a suffer.
So speaking of coaching, or consulting in general, so any type of consulting or coaching service usually starts with a question, and we want to make sure that the question the person or the client asks is as meaningful and relevant to the person as possible. So what are the questions that maybe your prospective client might ask, and you think you might help deal with that question? So regardless if it's coaching or IT consulting, what are the actual questions that people might be dealing with, and you think you might help them do that in the process? Just maybe you can share.
So there are two parts of that, probably. One is like the individual coaching.
Sure.
So on that side, I like, again, it really comes to own experience, and like I had those existential times and thoughts, and I think the question is, how can I make my life authentic? So just figuring out what I really want and the way how to move forward. So that, yeah, like I think if everyone would live their own lives, like we would have a very beautiful world. And on the organization side as well, I mean, it starts with business, right? And like organization is there because like it produces value and like there is money in it. So that's, they are usually asked about, productivity. But I would turn it slightly into other question. So how to make my organization flourish, meaning including both and financial growth and creating value, and as well like internal like relationships and relationships with clients. Because I think when people feel comfortable and they do feel the mission of a company, so they just collaborate and and create that effectiveness and create a community and culture within the organization.
Great. Yeah, great, Mario. I mean, I still want to maybe express gratitude to you, because I'm really glad that we've met and we are thinking about similar ideas and similar ways. And I think that topic of psychology in tech is still a bit neglected. And I think there's not too many people working on that front and working on that front authentically. I realize that, of course, a lot of companies see a lot of money to be made from that. And once again, it seems that it's important to emphasize that, yes, we need money because we want to survive ourselves. We need to pay our bills. We need to live in a comfortable environment like any engineer or tech person. We want to feel as content or happy as possible, or at least find meaning in life. And one of the most important things, of course, it's finance. And any service, of course, you mentioned healthy code, and it's great to have like NGOs, but once again, they are supported or funded by someone. So I guess what I want people to take from this is that not all people want just to earn from your experience. People actually want to help. And I think that from what you were telling, tech companies must be excited to have you, because, it's a rare opportunity to find a person who combines like solid software development understanding, engineering understanding, but also good foundation of coaching, because you are not only just certified, you have a master's degree, which is also, I mean, it's, the most difficult part of completing a degree is completing a degree. And not everyone can do that. And I think it also it tells a lot about the person, because academic world plays under a totally different set of rules. and the ability to learn those rules, understand the social fabric of those rules, understand the system, understand what you're expected of, understand the ideology, because there's always some kind of ideology. And I think the ideology of science is to understand, but also to make things better. And people will always have different ideas. What is the truth and what is the solution to a problem? So once again, I think that, yeah, it's great that you're here, and it was a lovely conversation. I think we touched on a lot of points. And once again, that Google topic was not discussed. So maybe before finishing, I'm not sure if I will include it into the whole conversation. Maybe it will be separate, but I'm not sure. But maybe you just can give your short story of why you wanted to join Google. What was it like to join it, and what was the lesson from trying to get into it? So, floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, like I wanted to join it because, again, like as doing comedy or going to like London or running a marathon, I just like, if I decide to do something, I'm kind of thinking about what's the best I could do within the area. And like in the software world, like as an engineer, that's still like going into Olympics. So I set myself the goal, and like along the way, I like kind of realized that I mean, you need to position yourself, and you mentioned the word geek a few times. So geek, you can be geeky in different topics, right? You can be geeky about like technology, Java, or like psychology, or like biology, whatever it is. So to be in Google, you need to be geeky in technology,
Yes.
mainly, and I was positioning myself as that. I mean, I think through discipline, you could learn anything you want, and that's like was my massive journey to kind of improve my technical skills. Along the way, I realized that my geeky part is around social side, and I'm really looking at technology, not just technology because of technology, because there is like now like new framework comes up every day, every hour, but technology as a tool to solve something, to solve a problem. So my kind of strengths, I realized that is kind of connecting the business people with the technical people, or like business problems with technical problems. And my geeky side in psychology, I really think about people, and I do kind of, what's the word, like I think I could notice like the needs of other people as well, and I think like if like, and help them to satisfy those needs, or themselves to satisfy themselves. So building a teams, right? Like I really do, like I had projects where I was like the first or one of the first people in the team. So to create like a infrastructure foundation of the project, like they create a team. So when you have nothing there and you hire, like you start hiring, you think about what skills you need. And like based on that, when you build a team and create like a organizational system, like create a process, how they all work. And that's what I really enjoy doing. So like I do like coding as well, because that's yeah, it gives that satisfaction of solving a problem. But my geeky bit is within people and social side. So I ended up not going to Google because it's just like it was not my personal goal. But instead of going there, I just wanted to go to Lithuania. And now I'm looking for kind of authenticity again. Like
And
I
Marius,
think
sorry, maybe a few sentences about that mirror you created and the video. I think it will be also interested to learn how you actually tried to get into Google.
That was part of my plan.
Yes.
I had like one of the channels, like how to, as you said, I did not want to apply to Google. I want them to invite me to join. So I created a campaign which was called like #MyDearGoogle. So I had a blog at the time, like what I was writing about like tech topics. And Mirror was like, again, and that's what I really recommend to young developers, because like I wanted like few more like languages. I wanted to try out Python and React and just have them on my CV and just have different kind of like experience to compare different like programming languages. So even when I interview people, and when someone comes and says, yeah, I watched a course on like Coursera about React, well, like I just ignore all, and actually I start questioning, like, so that it shows like watch the course doesn't mean anything. So I was like wanted to create something like, but create something useful for myself. So I came up with that Mirror idea, which solved my problems because I used to live in London. So I was thinking what I do every morning. So I check train calendar on my phone, right? I check BBC News. I check weather because like, forecast. I check my calendar. So I put all those gadgets into like one screen, and the Mirror as the kind of home interior detail. And the most importantly, as I wake up early, it's very like, in winter time, it's difficult to wake up like at 5, let's say, a.m. Is because it's dark outside. So I created an alarm clock for myself, basically. So I have a YouTube playlist with the songs which needs to be played, and put the LED lights so that, in the morning the alarm clock starts with some like proper AC/DC music and like turns the lights, and like, I don't have to think whether to snooze or not alarm. I just wake up.
Great music, right? Great tune.
With great music, yeah. So it did the job actually. I created some videos, and now like, I had even few contracts, like the IT contracts, where I didn't even have to send my CV. I just send the link of my kind of my dear Google things, and that's it. So
did they
many
notice
people
you
like actually?
Eventually?
I got a recommendation from inside. I got few.
Awesome.
But the interesting probably thing as well, when I was like doing my campaign and people asked me like, why are you having this video? Like, because I did like what was that, public cover letter.
It was like, creative and unconventional, to be frank. So
but like many people, like especially developers, they said like, you apply and like, and that's it. Why like why are you wasting your time? But I thought exactly this is different. Like I don't want to be like everyone else, and now I'm super happy again, as I was authentic.
Yes, awesome. Great, Marius. So any other finishing remarks or suggestions, maybe anything you would like people to learn about you or know about you, or anything what's on your mind? So
I think that this is probably one of the many, but one of the like the key questions like that people often ask, right? What would you recommend to yourself, like like the younger self? And like even in this like the camps we do as well. So I think like one of the things I think, right, it's my philosophy. I'm not saying that's the best philosophy in the world, like they try different, you can all try different ones, but I think it's life joy comes in authenticity. It's just like knowing yourself, like feeling yourself and acting the way you feel you should be acting. And like growing up within my environment, well, that was the thing, right? And we were influenced by the environment. Probably everyone is, but there was like a big segregation of that. So I'm very happy that I was able to kind of again get into self-awareness, looking for my own authenticity, and now that's it. Like I think that those I really got into the mode when I enjoy uncomfortable. And when I think about something that's not comfortable, I'm afraid of something, that's certainly I'm going to do it. So being authentic and active, and like, not being afraid to stand out and act on your way, what you think is valuable.
So what's the first fear on your list you will be tackling in the coming future? Or the uncomfortable thing?
Uncomfortable. There are a few things there. Actually, I'm starting a public speaking course.
Really?
Yeah, very shortly. And I have like one bigger thing probably, which sits on my list for a while, and I was considering it quite a lot. It's do an Ironman. Like who like doesn't know, Ironman is 41.5 kilometer running, 4 kilometers swimming, and 180 kilometers cycling. It's sitting on my list for a while, but I think I came up that I'll do it when I'll settled down with my work, and like, I think in the next decade.
Okay, great. So thanks Marius for being here. It was a
Thanks
pleasure.
for inviting.
So I hope that people will find value in this. So see you next time, right?
Thanks a lot for having me here. Good fun. And thanks for like deconstruction of my personality.
No problem. All the time.
It's
just give me
as
good
well.
content and an interesting person, and I will do that.
Good. Okay, thank you. Thanks
Thank
everyone
you.
for listening, and
Bye-bye.
enjoy the day.